3 years ago, when I chaired the Judiciary Committee, we held a hearing and witnesses came in to talk about the social media impact on our kids. The witnesses included Kristin Bride, who is here with us today, whose son died by suicide after he was bullied online. Another witness was a young woman whose mental and physical health suffered as she chased the unattainable lifestyle depicted on Instagram and other apps. Experts who told us how big tech designs their platforms to be addictive, keeping young users online so that they can be fed and targeted. It was a grim hearing. Individuals came in who combated the tidal wave of child sexual abuse material, CSAM, flowing across the internet. At later hearings, we heard from others, including Bridgette Norring, who was here this morning, Brandon Guffey, who were both with us. After too many hearings, I have told the witnesses and the many parents and young people that I would roll up my sleeves and get to work to pass legislation to address this online safety crisis for kids. The Judiciary Committee has answered the call, unanimously passing numerous bills to address big tech's harms. The committee's members cover the political spectrum right to left. For if to do anything unanimously is a near miracle around here, and we've done it. But it shows that this is a cause that truly unites us. How does big tech respond to our efforts? It opens the lobbying war chest to make sure the bills never become law. While none of these bills are the silver bullet that would make the internet completely safe for kids, it would be a significant step forward holding big tech accountable for the harms they've caused. That's why the tech companies oppose this bill so strongly. 2 years ago, I called a hearing for the CEOs of 5 major tech platforms, some under subpoena, to demand answers. That hearing produced results. Several companies implemented child safety improvement days before their CEOs came to testify. And Meta's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, under pressure from Senator Hawley of Missouri, gave a long overdue apology to the parents his platform had hurt. But apologies and too little too late reforms are not enough. We need to do more, and we need to do it now. That is why I've worked with Senator Lindsey Graham and others to introduce a bill that would sunset Section 230 in 2 years. Section 230 and the legal immunity it provides big tech became law 30 years ago, long before the social media became a part of our daily lives. To the extent this protection was ever needed, its usefulness is long since past. Sunsetting Section 230 could force big tech to the table to negotiate real reform that provides real accountability. I'm under no illusion that this will be easy. Last Congress, big tech and its allies in the House killed a bill, the Kids Online Safety and Privacy Act, that would have imposed a basic duty of care on tech platforms. That bill passed the Senate 91-3, yet we couldn't get a single vote by the leadership in the Republican-controlled House. Something needs to change. Big tech needs to be incentivized to protect kids online, and if they don't, they should be held civilly liable. Let's sunset Section 230, and let's get this job done for our kids now. I want to introduce Bridgette Norring, who's been involved in this battle for a long time. Bridgette, it's yours.
Thank you, Senator Durbin, for your leadership in this space. My name is Bridgette Norring. I'm the one of the proud founding members of Parents Rise and also the Devin J. Norring Foundation. I'm here today as a survivor parent because my son Devin lost his life to fentanyl poisoning at the age of 19. On April 4th, 2020, the day after Devin and an acquaintance were connected by Snapchat to a drug dealer, he was found unresponsive in his bedroom by my youngest son, Caden. Devin's death, tragically, is not far from an isolated incident. More than 80% of teens dying from deadly fentanyl pills connect with their dealers on social media, mainly Snapchat and Instagram. What's more is tech companies know and have known for about a decade that they play a significant role in amplifying the soaring number of drug-related deaths in our country. And instead of addressing the issue, they repeatedly hid behind the protections of Section 230. In the spring of 2021, Still reeling from Devin's death, I joined fellow survivor parents to meet privately with executives from Snapchat. And to this day, that meeting is what fuels my drive for Section 230 reform. Snapchat's Vice President for Global Public Policy, Jennifer Stout, told us that as parents, we should have been monitoring our children better. And due to Section 230, we had no power to hold them legally accountable in court. They looked at us parents who had lost our children, heard our stories, and lied about what they knew. The hardest truth I carry is this: Devin's death could have been prevented had Section 230 been reformed years ago, before platforms were allowed to scale harm faster than safety and profit faster than responsibility. Try and imagine a television channel broadcasting ads for the Sinaloa cartel, or a newspaper hosting pictures of baggies of pills, or kids for sale for sex in its classified sections. You can't do that because it's illegal. Yet these narco-traffickers have continued to weaponize Snapchat, which has done little to stop them thanks to Section 230 protections. Senators, we cannot wait another 30 years for Congress to act. We can't even wait another 12 months. A year ago today, I testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee, but Congress has not acted on the many promises that lawmakers have made to me and other victims harmed by big tech. Sunsetting Section 230 won't destroy the internet, and nothing we are proposing will impact our First Amendment rights. What it will do is end blanket immunity without responsibility for tech companies. Innovation should not excuse harm, and children's life should never be the cost of doing business. Personally, from a loss of a child standpoint, I want Devin and the countless victims to be remembered. However, what sunsetting Section 230 means to me, while my son is gone and will forever be 19, is that we're looking toward the future. And I'm thinking of and seeing the countless children's lives that will be spared as we finally hold big tech companies and their executives legally accountable for their actions. And I'll just close in saying shame on big tech for continuing to put profits over our children's safety. Thank you.
Former House Majority Leader Dick Gephardt.
Thank you, Dick Durbin. Great old friend. He's not as old as I am, so I'm not saying that. But he is a great legislator, and I so commend you for staying on this issue and fighting to get the change that we need. You are our champion. Section 230, which was a provision in the Telecom Act of 1996, was passed in the House of Representatives 414-6, and in the Senate 91-5. As minority leader in the House in 1996, I voted for it because social media platforms told us that without that protection, America would never have an internet economy. They also said that the platforms were just a dumb pipe that just carried content produced by others, but not them. They argue that they should not be held legally liable for harms caused by content on their dumb pipe. This act passed 30 years ago. Back then, we didn't know about algorithms. We had never heard of AI, which is what algorithms are. We didn't know about constant user data scraping that could empower attention addictive algorithms that could brainwash users toward many dangerous outcomes like mental problems, depression, and even suicide. We did not understand that those algorithms could capture people's attentions for many hours a day by making them angry, anxious, upset, hateful, revengeful, leading some to committing horrible acts of physical violence. We didn't realize that the platforms could become hate and outrage machines, which is what they have become. But 30 years later, we do realize all of this. I do not believe the platforms intend to harm people, but I do believe they intend to realize incredible monetary profits and the attention addictive algorithms they employ in pursuit of that profit causes serious harms to many, many people. And the worst part of it is that the leaders of these platforms know what they're doing. Unfortunately, Section 230 shields them from any liability for their affirmative behavior, which is causing the harms. And that's the distinction that we have to make. They may have been a dumb pipe 30 years ago, but they aren't now. They're the most intelligent pipe in human history. The platforms enjoy this protection that no other business enterprise in this country enjoys. A few years ago, I was a member of the board of the Ford Motor Company. If Ford's negligent behavior produces an unsafe or a defective vehicle that harms someone, they are legally liable for that harm. Just imagine if companies like Ford or GM or any of the car companies or other producers of consumer products could escape liability for harms caused by their affirmative behavior. This unprecedented protection must end, and it must end now. I commend the sponsors of this legislation. I honor the parents who are here who lost their children. As co-chair of the Bipartisan Council for Responsible Social Media, we will support and work with these sponsors to pass this critically needed legislation. And with all of this new knowledge that we now have, correct the action that I and many others made 30 years ago.
I didn't know him personally. I'd seen him on TV, in the movies, knew that he was a filmmaker and entrepreneur. But I had breakfast with our next speaker and guest this morning. He talked about his interest in this issue from a personal point of view, being the father of 3 children, 10, 8, and 3.
That's right.
So it's personal. So for parents and grandparents across America, this man is not acting, he's for real. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I'm here to talk about the Section 230 Sunset Act. If you don't know and you're watching, Section 230, what it does is basically says that a platform on the internet can't be held liable for the content that it hosts, which I realize sounds sort of technical and boring. So why did I come out here to Washington, D.C. to support this? Well, first and foremost, it's because I'm a dad, as the senator said. I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And a lot of people here today are parents whose kids, I just heard a couple stories that left me trying to keep myself together. These photos remind me of my kids. And the harm that was done to these kids online might have been prevented if certain big tech companies knew that they could be sued. But under Section 230, they cannot be. So these amoral companies, they just keep allowing these awful things to happen on their platform, and they don't do anything about it because they will always prioritize profits over the public good. even when it comes to kids. And beyond being a dad, there's nothing in the world I love more than my family. But I do have a certain kind of love for the internet. I do. I co-founded an online community called Hit Record. It's still very dear to me. So I understand what Section 230 did to bring about the birth of the internet. That was 30 years ago. And I also understand how the internet has changed since then. Because back then, message boards and other websites with user-generated content, they really were more like telephone carriers. They were neutral platforms. But that's not how things work anymore. Today, the internet is dominated by a small handful of these gigantic businesses that are not at all neutral, but instead algorithmically amplify whatever gets the most attention and maximizes ad revenue. And we know what happens when we let these engagement optimization algorithms be the lens that we see the world through. We get a mental health crisis, especially amongst young people. We get a rise in extremism and a rise in conspiracy theories. And then, of course, we get these echo chambers. These algorithms, they amplify the demonization of the other side so badly that we can't even have a civil conversation. It seems like we can't agree on anything. And yet, one of the only things that the American public seems to agree broadly on right now, left, right, and center, Republicans, Democrats, independents, we all agree that we don't trust these big tech businesses and we don't like the influence they're having on our lives and the lives of our kids. Well, if we want to do something about that, the right first step is to sunset Section 230. It's not going to solve everything, but it is the right first step. And I take a lot of hope being in this room today. This is truly a bipartisan group of people, and it's really representing the will of the American people. Despite the tech industry spending all kinds of money hiring lobbyists trying to kill this thing, we are here. So I want to thank Senator Durbin, Senator Graham for co-sponsoring this bill, and I have a message for all the other senators out there. I want to see this thing pass 100-0. There should be nobody voting to give any more impunity to these tech companies. Nobody. It's time for a change. Let's make it happen. Thank you.
Brandon Guffey is a Republican state representative from the state of South Carolina who's been a loyal part of this operation for many years, and I thank him for joining us today. Brandon?
I thought I'd make it through without getting too worked up, but I think I get worked up hearing about other people's children more so than being able to tell the story of my son. But my passion came July 27th of 2022. I lost my 17-year-old son, Gavin Guffey, due to suicide. We found out a few days later that he was being extorted. Started at midnight, and by 1:40 a.m., he had taken his life. He was living his best life. There seemed to be no problems. And I'd never heard of the term sextortion. And I got a phone call from an aunt who lived an hour north. Her 14-year-old, my son's cousin, was being extorted by the same person that extorted my son. I go to tell my wife, my 16-year-old son, the week that we are trying to bury my son, is being extorted by the person responsible for my son. And companies like Meta pulled down one profile, but left up the additional profile, and we now know that person extorted 13 additional children by that profile being left up. You can send a friend request and say, block this person and any new profiles they create, but yet Meta knows that this is a criminal and decided to leave this profile up for them to continue to harm children. Now, I bring all that up to point out that as I start going around trying to talk to say, look, this is unacceptable. This is not what social media is about. The only thing I keep getting told is, well, we can't do anything because of Section 230. Every turn that I've made over the past 3 years trying to get legislation, it always goes back to Section 230. These are the world's richest companies since the inception of man. We could talk about the big tobacco fight. They dwarf big tobacco. Literally the richest men in the world. And yet, they will not put protecting our children first. That's the reason so many states have legislation going all different directions. And Senator Durbin said this is not a silver bullet, but it damn sure is close to it. Because if we can sunset Section 230, what that will do is bring everyone to the table. It puts you on a time limit to come up with a solution. Your lobbyists aren't going to buy your way out of this. You're not going to just try to attack everyone. And if we can stand united, and one of the best things that I love about every single one of these tech bills, if you notice, it's always a Republican and a Democrat. It's always across the aisle. Because as divided as our country is, and I believe that's even due to not Section 230, but algorithms from big tech dividing us and putting us in our own circle. The one thing that we can all agree about, the one thing that we can all unite around, is protecting the next generation. So I want to thank Senator Durbin, Senator Graham. I want to thank Joseph Gordon-Levitt for your voice, and all the parents as we continue to grow, coming up here to advocate. It's not something I want to see, but our voices are getting heard, and I'm thankful for that. Thank you all.
Kristin Bride has appeared before our committees and told her story. It's a heartbreaker. But in her grief and sorrow for the loss of her child, she took action and helped to form Parents Rise. She comes before us today to tell that story. Kristin.
In 2020, we lost our 16-year-old son, Carson, to suicide following severe cyberbullying on YOLO, a dangerous anonymous app that was integrated into Snapchat. YOLO opened with a pop-up screen promising that it would monitor cyberbullying and reveal and ban abusers. Yet the last search on Carson's phone before he ended his life was for hacks to find out who was doing this to him. This was the darkest day of my life. The second darkest day was meeting with a local attorney about how I could force YOLO to follow their own stated policies and reveal and ban Carson's high school cyberbullies. I had previously reached out to YOLO on multiple occasions after Carson's death, and I was completely ignored. I should have legal recourse, right? Wrong. This was my first education in Section 230. The attorney told me that I had no legal recourse because social media companies are immune from lawsuits. How could I live in a country where this is even possible, I thought. I did find an attorney who was willing to take up the fight and file a lawsuit against YOLO for dangerous product design and product misrepresentation. This was the beginning of nearly 5 years of legal hell. Carson's case was dismissed outright in California's Central District Court in 2023, citing Section 230 immunity. We won our appeal in the Ninth Circuit Court a year and a half later for product misrepresentation, but not product liability. Our lawsuit against YOLO continues to this day, nearly 6 years after Carson's death, but not in the way I had hoped. I had wanted discovery a jury, a trial, and an opportunity to face the creator of YOLO, Gregoire Henrion, and look him in the eyes and let him know how much his priorities for making fast money over kids' online safety have destroyed our family. But this will never happen, because after years of Section 230 appeals, YOLO is now a shell without funding, unable to hire attorneys to defend the case. I urge lawmakers to prioritize meaningful Section 230 reform. It's essential that tech companies are held accountable for the safety of their products like every single industry in America. And in this way, we can finally protect families from these preventable tragedies. Thank you.
Sarah O'Quinn is the U.S. Director of Public Affairs at the Center for Countering Digital Hate. Sarah?
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah O'Quinn. I'm an attorney and Director of Public Affairs for the Center for Countering Digital Hate. CCDH is a watchdog organization that since 2019 has thoroughly researched the hollow claims made by social media companies that they are keeping users safe. We've had industries that cause consumers harm before. For decades, the tobacco industry denied that cigarettes were harmful and concealed internal research showing its products were both addictive and deadly. But the difference between big tech and big tobacco is that Congress never gave tobacco companies blanket immunity. Section 230 allows social media companies like Meta and X to lie, confuse, and conceal with impunity. It has not just created legal immunity, it has created a culture of impunity and indifference to harm. Our research has revealed that social media companies fuel violence, serve content glorifying self-harm and encouraging illicit drug taking by children, and enable scams. The reason is simple. Safer products would mean less money. And owners like Mark Zuckerberg will not accept any impediment to their ability to amass even greater fortunes by exploiting Section 230 and their own users. In 2024, consumers reported losing a record $12.5 billion to scams, according to the FTC. Social media plays a huge and rapidly growing role. Facebook is the most common platform used by scammers. In fact, we now know that Meta's internally admitted to themselves that 1 in 10 of every dollar of revenue came from ads from scams and banned goods. Yet Meta has done little to stop this. While Americans are losing their homes and their hopes of a dignified retirement, these companies profit lavishly, and Section 230 once again prevents accountability. Americans, as we've been hearing today, are losing their sons and daughters. Today, you have heard from parents who are living with unimaginable devastation. I am someone who has 20 nieces and nephews. This is personal to me. This is not innovation. This is not protected speech. It is immoral, unjust immunity from the rules that apply to every other company in America. The Sunset Section 230 Act that was introduced by Senators Lindsey Graham and Dick Durbin sets a deadline to end this outdated blanket immunity and gives Congress 2 years to replace it with a framework that protects users. It is time for Congress to put Americans first. Thank you.
Our last speaker is Dani Pinter. She is the Chief Legal Officer and Director of NCOSE Law Center. Dani.
Thank you. My name is Dani Pinter. I'm an attorney and the director of the Law Center for the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. Section 230 is titled Protection for Good Samaritan Blocking and Screening of Offensive Material. By its title and purpose, this provision was passed by Congress to protect children and incentivize platforms to make their platforms safe. Instead, Section 230 has become a shield from accountability for big tech's bad faith decisions to cause harm in pursuit of profit. Expansive and erroneous judicial interpretations, combined with unimaginable technological advancement, has flipped the incentive structure intended by Congress on its head. Rather than incentivizing tech companies to take steps to make their platforms safer, Section 230 has emboldened tech platforms to make profits at any cost. As a result, we now have a tech industry larger and more profitable than any industry on the planet in the history of the world. Today's big tech industry views vulnerable populations and our children as collateral damage to their business model built on greed. Because of Section 230, we have a tech industry that exists above the law. Courts have found that Section 230 protects social media platforms even when they commit heinous crimes like knowingly possessing and distributing child sexual abuse material. We cannot permit this any longer. And with the rise of artificial intelligence, this is urgent. We at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation commend Senators Durbin and Graham for their leadership in this bipartisan effort to update the laws to better reflect the industry we have today. Americans, we need to protect every American whose safety and security is at risk by this unaccountable and unscrupulous tech industry. On behalf of the survivors we represent, we proudly support this historic bill to sunset Section 230. Thank you.
Any questions from the press? Yes.
Hey, Fox Business. Joseph, this one's for you. Big tech is obviously playing a bigger role in your industry. It seems you're taking a little bit of a risk, with your career coming here today. Why do you feel that's important? And do you think it'll impact you going forward for opportunities?
No, I don't think it's going to impact me for I mean, maybe if I were going to go shill for Meta, but I'm not going to do that anyway. So I'm making a movie for Netflix this year, directing that I co-wrote about a lot of these topics, and they've been really supportive and are really excited to get this movie out. So thanks for your question, but no, I'm not worried.
Press.
With opponents saying that repealing the law could make it so that criticism on tech platforms is more likely to be removed if tech companies try to avoid liability for content that might seem objectionable to the administration. Do you think that's a valid concern? And if so, is there anything that could be done to kind of replace any language that might protect, free expression on the internet?
The only business enterprise in America which is held harmless from their own wrongdoing is big tech. The only one. And we think of all the other businesses, all the other products, all the other messages. Why is it that this one is an exception? There's no reason for it, because we know the damage that's done. We know the danger that lies within. I'm all for the Constitution and free expression and such, but there are limits within the law and Constitution. And in this situation, 30 years of this is enough. One last question. Yes.
Senator Durbin, I know you're introducing this with Senator Graham.
Yep.
Has he given you any assurances that he's in the president's ear when it comes to potentially getting some sort of bipartisan support enough to pass in Congress? He's very close with the president. The president also is very close with big tech CEOs we've seen at the White House time and time again.
I think this is a question better reserved for my colleague to answer. I haven't been in the foursome out on the golf course with him, so I don't have any insight into their conversations.
Did he explain why he's not here today?
He is supporting this effort. He's been on the floor with me supporting it. Today he couldn't make it, but he's there. We're counting on him. Last question.
Hi, I'm Bridgette Peters from the Alliance to Counter Crime Online, and thank you so much for this bill. It's Section 230, if nothing else, is a giant subsidy to the tech industry, and I agree with so many of the speakers who said that the richest industry in the history of humanity hardly needs any more subsidies. government. Senator Graham, and I believe you supported, had called for a series of hearings about Section 230. Are those going to go forward?
We have to talk to Chairman Grassley about that. I want to create momentum to get something done this year for obvious personal reasons and for the fact that this is a major issue that affects so many American families. But in terms of hearings that may be appropriate, I'll talk it over with both of them and we'll see if we can work together. But key to the consideration of this bill in a favorable way is action on the floor. The Senate needs to take action and hold members accountable so that they can stand up and decide whose side they're going to be on. Okay? Thanks, everybody.